Welcome back to my channel. For some time now, I've heard from people who escaped from countries with tyrannical governments, and they are saying they see the same things that led to tyranny there happening here in the US. So I thought it would be a good idea to do a reaction to this video from a channel called Blender. He does a good job of covering these tactics.
All governments suffer a recurring problem. Power attracts pathological personalities. The problem isn't that power corrupts, it's that it seduces the already corruptible.
I'll disagree a bit on that. I think most people can be corrupted if the temptation is big enough. It's why we need to remember what the founders understood, that while government is necessary, its powers must be severely limited. We have forgotten that wisdom. However, it is certainly true that pathological people are attracted to power, so it needs to be limited so they can't do as much damage. Even people with good intentions can be a problem with power as they use their self-righteous attitudes to force people to do things for their own good.
Pathological individuals, psychopaths, narcissists, sadists, aren't like you and me. They lack empathy, they crave control, and they know exactly how to manipulate language and ideology to get it.
This is true. Mao Zedong considered the death of millions because of his policies was just a necessary thing for the overall good. I suspect the assassin of Charlie Kirk had similar views. Pathological individuals do tend to know exactly how to manipulate language and ideology to get what they want.
They speak in doublespeak. To the average person, words like equity, liberation, or safety sound like compassion. But to insiders, they carry different meanings, tools of control and repression. The public hears inclusion, the regime hears compliance. This is totalitarianism's magic trick. Morality used as a mask for domination.
I learned about this when I was just a teenager, over half a century ago. At that time, communists would often talk of peace, which attracted many people. But for a communist, the word peace simply meant the lack of resistance to communism. We see the same tactic today. We all want equality under the law, but many are actually pushing for equality of outcome. That means giving government the power to play favorites. If you believe that wouldn't be abused, you're crazy. Another example would be free speech. We all like that, but there are a bunch who effectively kill it by declaring that speech that offends someone isn't included. Considering there are many who are offended by anything they don't agree with, they aren't really supporting free speech. It's a word game. Offend protected groups, and you can be sent to the modern version of Soviet re-education camps. That is, you can go to sensitivity training. Meanwhile, people in those protected groups can offend you all they want. Let me take a moment to give you a real example of people going out of their way to be offended from when I was much younger. I grew up during the Civil Rights era, and yes, there was much to be fixed. I could understand blacks saying they didn't want to be called the N-word, and I had no problem with their desire to be called black. It's what they said they wanted, and since we were regularly called white, it seemed to be logical and consistent. And then things got crazy. In spite of all the stuff back then about black is beautiful, black power, and all the rest, I remember when suddenly they told us they wanted to be called African American. I objected for two reasons. One was that I don't really care for hyphenated Americans in general. If you are a citizen of the US, that makes you an American. I don't mind special days some cultures have to celebrate their roots like the Irish, Italians, or others do. At those times, if they want to call themselves Italian Americans or whatever, fine. But most of the time, American is what is appropriate and uniting. The other objection I had was this. Even though it was blacks who had first insisted we call them black, during this time, they would often get angry if you didn't call them African American. My reaction was, can't you make up your mind? It was at that point I realized some people are just looking to be offended. There are still lots of people from many groups that seem to use "I'm offended" as an excuse to silence others, even with violence.
Psychopaths are social chameleons. They know how to read people, push emotional buttons, say the right thing, and wear whatever mask the moment requires.
Yep, a lot of them are very clever and easily fool people. For example, most of us have seen men who take advantage of women that way, psychopaths and narcissists who know what to say.
But here's the crucial part. Once they gain authority, they don't need everyone to support them. They only need 6 to 12%.
So while most people are thinking things are not too bad because the crazies are in the minority, they find out too late that minority has taken control. It works like this.
The true believers, opportunists, and petty tyrants who are all too eager to enforce the regime's will. The rest of the population falls into line, not because they believe, but because they're afraid. Afraid of saying the wrong thing, afraid of losing their jobs, afraid of becoming the next target. That's how tyranny functions in the modern world. Not with mass approval, but with mass submission enforced by a vocal and vicious minority.
Don't we see this submission right now? It was a very short time ago that we understood that biological males should not be in girls' restrooms. Now, if you make an issue about it, you may lose your job or be sent to sensitivity training. It doesn't take many to have control. The communists said decades ago that they would try to control education. It seems to be working considering what is going on college campuses. How many major universities invite conservatives to speak at commencement exercises? How many conservative students hide their views so they can pass? Even in science, they just declare something is scientifically settled and try to stop opposing views, even from other scientists, from being heard. That isn't how real science operates. You need to pay attention and not limit your news to the same media over and over. And just maybe consider that those you oppose are sometimes right. Thanks for watching, and don't let the trolls stop you from speaking out.